everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with y'all all the books that I read in the month of June. So June was a very slow reading month for me because I was very busy. I felt like I couldn't breathe at times because I was constantly going, and I did appreciate that at times because, as mentioned in previous videos, I don't know if it was my June TBR or my May wrap up, but my husband did leave for a 3-week unplugged work training, and that was really hard for me. It was especially hard for him, but it was really hard for me because that's the longest we've ever gone without any sort of communication. So I enjoyed keeping busy because it made the 3 weeks that he was gone go by faster, but I was not able to read as much as I would have liked, and if I was able to read, I was exhausted. I would just rest or literally go to sleep. So it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, it was good, but I didn't get to read very much. So in the month of June, I only read 7 books. So if y'all don't know, at the beginning of June, June 3rd through the 13th, I was in Washington. I went home while my husband was gone, and my sister was graduating high school, so that was like the main reason why I went. And then she had a graduation party-ish. We just went out to dinner, and then she had her last piano recital, and then we celebrated my grandparents. They passed away in 2020 and 2021, and we finally had a celebration of life for them, so we had that. And then when I got back, my husband had already been home for 2 days just recovering from his intense training that he went through, and then we celebrated our anniversary because he was gone over our anniversary. So of course I wasn't gonna read while he was there with me because I wanted to spend time with him and catch up and see how he was doing. And then we celebrated our anniversary, and then Father's Day came, and then we just had a lot going on, and I didn't want to film or read while he was back because I felt like I had a lot of catching up with him to do, especially because of the training. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's called SEER training, so it just was one of those things where I would have rather hung out with him than read. So because of that, I only read 7 books. Anyways, getting to my stats. Of those 7 books, 2 were male authors and 5 were female authors. I didn't have any 5-star reads, which is becoming a frequent reoccurrence in 2022 for me. I don't know. I don't know if it's the mood I'm in or what, but I'm not enjoying any books recently. Like, I'm enjoying them, but not enough to give them 5 stars. So I had 1 3-star read, 3 3.5-star reads, 2 4-star reads, and 1 4.5-star read. Of the 7 books I read in June, it's a total of 2,402 pages read, which is almost 81 pages read per day. So the first book I read in June was Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I had high hopes for this one, especially with how small it is. I thought it was going to be really fast paced, and honestly it was more on the slower side. I felt like it dragged, and I enjoyed Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney. I read that last year, and that was a 5-star read for me. This one was 3.5 stars. I don't know, it just was not very enjoyable, and it dragged in some areas, but it was her debut novel, which that tends to happen. She's obviously gotten way better as a writer because Rock Paper Scissors was phenomenal. I'm still glad I read this one because I eventually want to read all of her books. I still have His and Hers. I think it's the only one left that I haven't read, and then she has a book coming out in August that I will be reading as well. So next I read All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This book is thick. I was not expecting it to be as thick as it was when I received it in my Book of the Month box, but it was a good book. It really was. Did I enjoy it as much as I thought I would? No. I gave this one 3.5 stars as well. This one is a historical fiction, takes place during World War II, and I enjoyed this one, but I wish that it was written a bit differently. It was written really good. Really fantastic writing, phenomenal writing. It just wasn't the writing that I had anticipated, so I think because of that, that's why I went into it with such high hopes and was kind of let down. The storyline was really good, and I love historical fiction. I'm just really particular with the writing style. This one didn't do it for me, but this was my first Anthony Doerr book, so I definitely want to read his other book that he has out. It's like Cuckoo Something Land. I'll write it down here. But when I was traveling to Washington, I saw someone on the plane reading it, and I was traveling with a toddler who literally would not sleep. So we were walking up and down the aisles, and I was trying to get him to sleep and rocking him. And when I first started walking down the aisle, she was at the beginning of the book, and then as the plane ride progressed, she was just flipping through those pages. So I take that as she was really enjoying it, so I want to read that one as well. But like I said, this one was 3.5 stars. Next, I read The Collective by Allison Galen. This one was good. It definitely was a really fast-paced thriller that I enjoyed a lot. I gave this one 4 stars. But this one, did it stick with me as much as I had hoped? No. But it's about a mother whose daughter 5 years prior was killed, and so she joins like this anonymous Facebook group, or it's not a Facebook group, it's like on the dark web, of people who are also grieving people who were murdered or they committed suicide because of a bully or something along those lines, to where there was a death that could have been prevented. And so she joins this page in the dark web, and she tries to get this man that she believes is the suspect of who killed her daughter 5 years prior. She tries to get him to die, get killed, whatever. And it's really intense. I've never read any storyline like this before. It was really, really good. I gave this one 4 stars. Next, I read The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. This is another historical fiction that takes place during the Holocaust, and I went into this book knowing only that. I didn't know that this was a fictional book based off of real people, so hearing that was super cool. I did a lot of Googling while I was reading so that I could learn more about the people in this book, and also it has a lot of pictures at the end of the book of the real life people that are involved in this story, and then it's got all kinds of information in the back about, like, Heather went to the man's house who's the main character of her story to hear his story so that she could write it the way that he wanted it written. And it's just really, really fascinating. But again, it wasn't written how I was expecting. The writing is beautiful. It was written really, really well, just like All the Light We Cannot See was. But I just wanted more from it with different writing. So because of that, I only gave it 3 stars, but that does not mean I hated it. Not at all. I really enjoyed this book. I love reading historical fiction, and I definitely plan on reading the other 2 books that are in this series. Next, I read Can't Look Away by Corella Lovering. This one was a pre-order, and I loved this one. I gave this one 4.5 stars. This is the same author as Too Good to Be True. I read it last year and absolutely loved it. I believe I also gave that one 4.5 stars, maybe 4 stars. I can't remember, but this one was just as good, if not better, because I remember in Too Good to Be True, I hated the main character Sky. I thought that she was really dumb and naive for the amount of money that she had. So this one was definitely better because I didn't hate any of the characters in this book. But this one, I can't even fully describe what this book is about, but basically it goes back and forth between a bunch of different timelines, but it follows a woman named Molly, and in 2013 she goes to a concert. Man, I read a lot of books this month about people with music. Anyways, she goes to a concert where she meets this man who's in this band. They lock eyes and then they date or whatever, but he has this other girlfriend or ex who wanted to move in together and have babies, and he wasn't ready for that, so he broke up with her and started dating Molly. And then fast forward to 2022, Molly is married to a man named Hunter, and they're happily married but struggling with infertility, and she meets this woman named Sabrina who she just loves. She thinks Sabrina is so cool, and then she gets closer to Sabrina and finds out a bunch of things about Sabrina, and it's just a really good story. I'm not going to talk more about it because I would be getting into the storyline of spoilers, but really, really good. I definitely think this will end up on my favorite reads of 2022 video that I make at the end of the year. This one was really, really good. Next, I read The House Across the Lake by Raelee Sager, and I was really excited for this book. I pre-ordered it, and I'm not gonna lie, this is, in my opinion, Raelee Sager's worst book. I gave this one 3.5 stars. The first half of this book reminded me of The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn, and I absolutely hated that book. And then the second half was really good. It definitely started to pick up, but I just couldn't get over the fact that the first half of this book was literally The Woman in the Window. So because of that I gave it 3.5 stars. That's the lowest rating I've ever given a Raelee Sager book. I did make a video on ranking and reviewing all of Raelee Sager's videos. I will post that up above somewhere and I'll link it down below so you guys can see how I feel about Raelee Sager's previous books and what I rated them. But this one was a huge disappointment for me, and after I finished it I went on Goodreads and I was reading some of the reviews, and I'm definitely not alone with feeling like it resembles The Woman in the Window. However, a lot of people were like, the ending was so good that I forgot about the first half and gave it 4 stars or 5 stars, and I'm like, yeah, no, not me. I couldn't get past that. So I gave this one a 3.5. And the last book I read this month was Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. I finished this book last night and absolutely loved it. It didn't make me feel any sort of emotions like her other books that I've read have, but this one was really good. This is the first book I've read where the main character is deaf. I've never read a book where the main character was deaf or blind or anything like that, so I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a nice change of scenery for me because I am reading a lot of historical fictions and thrillers and romances that I'm seeing like the same storyline over and over and over again, so this one was a nice change for me. But if you don't know what this one is about, this is the first book in the series. I will try to read the second book next month, but if you saw my July TBR video, I will link that up above and down below as well. I'm becoming very much a mood reader, and if I'm in the mood to read Maybe Not, then I will, but I didn't put it on my TBR because I, to be honest, didn't know if I would finish this in June, and also I don't own the book, and there's a lot of other books on my July TBR that I would like to get to that I don't own, and that's just a lot of money to be spending on books. And if I have the first one, I'm not going to go to the library and get the second one. I would like to own it so that I could have the completed series, same with the novella, on my shelf. So I mean, it is what it is, but I also enjoy collecting books, so I'd much rather buy a book than check it out at the library because then I'd have to return it, and I like to see what I've read all out onto the shelf in front of me. Anyways, this book follows a woman who just recently turned 22, and she finds out that her boyfriend and best friend are sleeping together, and so she's out on the balcony. This is a little bit before, this is like 2 weeks before her birthday, because she finds out that her boyfriend cheated on her birthday. But a little bit before that, she's out on the balcony of her apartment, and there's this man playing the guitar, and he notices her and he writes on a piece of paper to text him, so she does. And his name is Ridge. He's deaf. That is how Sydney and Ridge become in contact. And then when she finds out her boyfriend and best friend are sleeping together on her birthday, she goes out into the curb in the pouring down rain with some suitcases and is pretty much stuck because she realizes that she left her purse in her apartment and doesn't want to go back up to get it because she just punched Hunter, her boyfriend, and why am I spacing on her friend's name? Tori. She just punched Hunter and Tori in the face, and so she doesn't want to go back up there, so she's in the pouring down rain with suitcases and no money. This is when Ridge sends down one of his roommates to go get her, and from there it's just a really, really good story, and not like any love story I've ever read before, so I definitely recommend reading this if you have not. Maybe not as your first Colleen Hoover, because I feel like some of her other books are better, but this one was still really good, and I gave this one 4 stars. So those are all the books that I read in the month of June. Let me know in the comments down below what you read in the month of June and what your favorites were. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe and turn on post notifications to be notified every time I upload, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!